Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be watching RWBY Volume 1, Episode 7, titled Jaunedice, like the disease, I guess, or the character. Otherwise known as episodes 11 and 12, I think, in the original. So yeah, we're just going to be watching both parts. Let's go! So, obviously, I don't think it takes a genius for me to tell you my thoughts on what I think this episode is going to be. We've gotten development of Ruby and Weiss. We still don't know much about Blake, don't know much about Yang. But I think now's a nice time to hop into the side characters, right? With Jaune and Pyrrha and whatnot. Yep. Oh, and this guy. I forgot his name. Do we know his name? Yeah, I don't know, buddy.
This is the part where you lose.
Over my dead.
Yeah, I think he would actually kill you.
Pardon, that's enough.
Yeah, actually was gonna go for it. Damn.
Students, as you can see, Mr. Ark's aura has now dropped into the red. In a tournament-style duel, this would indicate that Jaune is no longer fit for battle, and that the official may call the match.
Huh.
Mr. Ark, it's been weeks now. Please try to refer to your scroll during combat. Gauging your aura will help you to decide when it is appropriate to attack, or when it is better to move to a more defensive strategy.
Wait, during combat? Are you
We
insane?
wouldn't want you to be gobbled up by a Beowulf, now would we?
Speak for yourself.
She's got
Remember, everyone,
she's got
the Bridal
sass.
Festival is only a few months
Wait,
away.
actually,
It
it's
won't
been a
be
while
long
since we
before
saw her,
the
right?
Other kingdoms start arriving in Vale, so keep practicing. Those who choose to compete in the combat tournament will be representing all of Vale.
Oh, tournament. Oh no, tournament arc.
So, there we were, in the middle of the night.
It was day.
We were surrounded by Ursai.
They were Beowulfs.
Dozens of them!
2 of them.
But they were no match. And in the end, Ren and I took them down.
Oh my god, everyone's
and
just
made a
doing something
boatload
different.
Of Lien selling Ursa's skin rugs.
She's been having this recurring dream for nearly a month now.
Jaune?
You're
Are
very
you okay?
intimately familiar with that dream, huh?
Oh, yeah. Why?
It's just that you seem a little not okay.
Guys, I'm fine. Seriously. Look.
Jaune, Cardin has been picking on you since the first week
Bro,
of
that
school.
is that racism?
Who? Cardin Winchester? Ah,
Cardin
he just likes to mess
Winchester.
around, you know, practical jokes.
He's a bully.
Oh, please. Name one time he's bullied me. No, come on! Ah.
This guy's just fucking with you.
Oh, come on!
Each of you will be assigned one rocket-propelled locker to store your weapons and extra armor.
Rocket propelled?
Additionally, your locker can be sent to a custom location based on a 6-digit code.
What? Why?
Wait, get me out of here. Please, don't.
That could happen. It's kind of a risk.
I didn't land far from the school.
Jaune, you know if you ever need help, you can just ask.
Oh! We'll break his legs!
I agree. Why can't we
Guys,
do that?
wait, it's fine.
He'll heal back up with,
it's
like,
not like he's only a
aura.
jerk to me. He's a jerk to everyone.
Ow, that hurts!
Hello? Is anyone doing something about this?
I told you it was real.
What a freak.
Atrocious.
They're just
Can't
gonna sit
stand
here?
People like him.
He's not the only one. It must be hard to be a Faunus.
Man. Yeah, I had a feeling that that screen went black for a little too long. Wow, actually, there's quite a lot of world building done here. I'm excited to look into it.
Yes, prior to the Faunus Rights Revolution,
Oh, another class.
the Faunus War, humankind was quite
Oh, we don't
adamant
know
about
this guy.
centralizing Faunus population in menagerie. Now, while this must feel like ancient history to many of you, it is imperative to remember that these are relatively recent events. Why the repercussions of the uprising can still be
But it
seen
looks a
to
lot
this
more
day.
fun than Port.
Now, have any among you been subjugated or discriminated because of your Faunus heritage? Dreadful, simply dreadful. Remember, students, it is precisely this kind of ignorance that breeds violence. I mean, just look at what happened to the White Fang. Now, which one of you young scholars can tell me what many theorists believe to be the turning point in the third year of the war? Yes,
The battle at Fort Castle?
precisely. And who can tell
Of course,
me
she would know the
advantage
answer.
the Faunus had over General Lagoon's forces?
Hey,
Mr. Art, finally contributing to class. This is excellent, excellent. What is the answer?
the answer... The advantage, the Faunus had over that guy's stuff.
Bro.
Binoculars.
Very funny, Mr. Ark. Cotton, perhaps you would care to share your thoughts on the subject.
Well, I know it's a lot easier to train an animal than a soldier.
You're not the most
Excuse me?
open-minded of individuals, are you, Cardin?
What? You got a problem?
No, I have the answer. It's night vision. Many Faunus are known to have nearly perfect sight in the dark.
Oh, that's cool.
General Lagoon was inexperienced and made the mistake of trying to ambush the Faunus in their sleep. His massive army was outmatched, and the general was captured. Perhaps if he'd paid attention in class, he wouldn't have been remembered as such a failure.
Mr. Winchester, please take your seat. You and Mr. Ark could both see me after class for additional readings.
Oh.
Now, moving on.
Damn, sucks to be you.
You go on ahead. I'll wait for Jaune.
The door is just
You two have been
vibing.
struggling in my class since day one. Now, I don't know if it's a lack of interest or just your stubborn nature, but whatever it is, it stops now. You've worked hard to gain entrance to the school, and we only accept the best of the best, so I expect you to act like it. History is important, gentlemen. If you can't learn from it, you're destined to repeat it. Pages 51 to 91. I want an essay on my desk by next class. Now, run along.
He's Sonic.
Ow!
Can we just like
You
beat
know,
the shit
I
out of
think
him?
We'll break his legs.
Nice. I think we should.
I have an idea. Here, come with me.
Well, if the teachers aren't gonna do anything about it, and no one else is gonna do something about it, we're just gonna. You know what I mean?
Pyrrha, I know I'm going through a hard time right now, but I'm not that depressed. I can always be a farmer or something.
No!
Bro!
That's not why I brought you up here. Jaune, I know you're having a difficult time in
Oh,
class.
the window.
And
Is that
you're
him?
still not the strongest of fighters, so I want to help you.
What?
We can train up here after class where no one can bother us.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
You think I need help?
Oh no.
No, that's not what I meant.
But you just said it.
Jaune, everybody needs a little push
Oh, he's
from
got a
time to
complex
time.
about it.
It doesn't make you any different from the rest of us. You made it to Beacon. That speaks volumes of what you're capable of.
You're wrong. I don't belong here.
That's a terrible thing to say. Of course you do.
No, I don't. I wasn't really accepted into Beacon.
What do you mean?
I mean, I didn't go to combat school. I didn't pass any tests.
Oh.
I didn't earn my spot at this academy. I lied. I got my hands on some fake transcripts, and I lied.
Not
What?
even combat school,
But
huh?
Why?
Because this is what I've always wanted to be. My father, my grandfather, and his father before him were all warriors. They were all heroes. I wanted to be one too. I was just never good enough.
Then let me help you.
I don't want help. I don't want to be the damsel in distress. I want to be the hero.
Jaune,
I'm tired of being the lovable idiot stuck in the tree while his friends fight for their lives. Don't you understand? If I can't do this on my own, then what good am I? Just leave me alone, okay?
if that's what you think is best.
Sorry if I'm silent. I'm trying to like process everything. I have a lot I want to say. It's a lot to unpack here. What the holy shit?
Cardin!
Damn, Sutsu didn't just fall off.
You two from my dorm room. So, you snuck into Beacon, huh? I gotta say, Jaune, I never expected you to be such a rebel.
Please, Cardin, please don't tell anyone.
Jaune, come on. I'd never ratted a friend like that.
A friend?
Of course. We're friends now, Johnny boy. And the way I see it, as long as you're there for me when I need you, we'll be friends for a long time.
John, I hope you grow a spine by the end of this.
That being said, I really don't have time to do those extra readings Dr. Oobleck gave us today. Think you could take care of that for me, buddy? That's what I thought. Don't worry, Jaune. Your secret's safe with me.
He really just coming out of windows, huh? That's interesting. Oh man. Okay, cool. Oh wait, so this isn't gonna get resolved yet, huh? Okay. Cool. We're getting a proper two-parter, like not a hey, this is one episode cut into two-parter, as in like a no, this is a 2-episode two-parter. So like a four episode. That's a lot of episodes. But still, yeah, I'll be back in a bit for my discussion. Hey, so I'm back. Very interesting stuff. We got a lot more added to the world building section, and yeah, other than the character stuff. So let's start with that. I added one more theme in the show. Those who failed to learn from history are doomed to repeat it, because there's a special emphasis on it where Professor Oobleck, Dr. Bartholomew Oobleck apparently put a lot of emphasis on this, and I feel like it could also be a theme because we've been getting a lot of Faunus lore in this episode, which I didn't expect at all, but I welcome it because that part has been sort of a mystery for a long time. This is interesting because a lot of there's a lot that went into history this time, and I feel like it's going to come back in a not metaphorical, in a metaphorical way, like a poetic way. Like I'm pretty sure that the situation between Jaune and Cardin is somehow going to reflect what they learned today. Because that'll make a lot of sense, you know? It's like you can do your lore dump, and character work, and develop your plot at the same time. So it'd be really cool if we get to mirror this, where Cardin doesn't want to learn. He doesn't want to learn. He gets other people to do it for him. Generally, okay, now that we're talking about Cardin, let's just talk about him real quick, because this is all I got. Rude, insensitive, mean, manipulative, racist, a generally violent person with zero redeeming qualities. It looks like he's just a villain character. His design is boring and bland. He's got a knight sort of design, you know, but his whole face and features are very bland. The rest of his team is also very muted in color. It's definitely different from the rest of everyone else. They're just devoid of color, devoid of everything. They're one-dimensional. In a cast of 3-dimensional characters, they are one-dimensional at this point, you know? It's like one thing I really love about RWBY is that you look at them and you would think that they're like one-note characters at first, But right from the get-go, from episode 1, you see that they are not, in fact, one-note characters. RWBY is a lot more complicated than you think. Weiss is a lot more complicated than you think. We haven't gotten much on Blake or Yang, but we already have a hint on Blake's backstory in her trailer, even Yang's trailer. Like she was like looking for someone. That's a whole thing. We don't know about that yet. And looking at how much time there's left in this season, I feel like we're not gonna get Blake and Yang. Even though I feel like, well, yes, Volume 1 should set the stage for all of Team RWBY, but looking at this episode being, potentially next episode being about Jaune and seemingly Pyrrha as well, I feel like, yes, so Volume 1's going to be RWBY, Weiss, Jaune, and Pyrrha focused. Volume 2 could finish it off with Blake and Yang and Ren and Nora. And so in 2 seasons, we would have essentially filled out our cast, right? So yeah, I'm going on like tangent after tangent right now. But yeah, I guess we could talk about Oobleck right now. Actual ADHD behavior, or just incredibly caffeinated. He was drinking a lot. That's probably coffee. That's fun. It is a fun gimmick. I wonder if his if his powers have something to do with speed. That'd be funny. Very enthusiastic about history. Also, I wrote responsible and cares about his students because, you could ignore the fact that Jaune was sleeping in class and Carden was, just nonsensical answers and just generally being, a cunt. But he cared enough to set them aside, see them after class. Hey, you've been struggling for a while. I want to see you guys do an essay, and then just gives them a piece of advice. So as a teacher, he feels responsible enough to do that, and cares about them. So I have a better impression of Oobleck than Port. Dude, just looking at the disparity between my notes. Yeah. So anyway, back to this. Yeah, I'd love it if this is a thematic that continues. Right now, the rest of the thematics haven't really been relevant, I suppose. Like, I guess the only thing is you could stretch it and say strength. People have different strengths. RWBY and Weiss have different strengths. Strangers and friends you haven't met yet. You could say that, but generally, none of these topics have really mattered so far. We're still early on, so I don't know if this is gonna matter, but it would be cool. Anyway, lingered on that enough. Yes, a lot more in the Faunus. So, here. These points. Specifically pertaining to Carden, because the way that Carden was, bullying that rabbit girl, it's like, I know, look, some people don't believe animal parts are real. I don't mean this in a literal way. Like, of course they know it's real, but the way that they react to it feels like they've never met a Faunus face to face before. You know what I mean? It's like people who live in really like rural parts or like really disconnected parts of Africa, seeing someone with pale skin, they're gonna freak out. Same way that people in more rural parts of China or certain East Asian countries, seeing someone with black skin, they're gonna feel kind of weird about it in that same way. But I could kind of tell an anecdote. I went to China before. I went to Beijing specifically. I was with a tour group, and random people would just come up to you and ask to take pictures if you don't look like a Chinese person. I went with people who had a Chinese heritage, so they look Chinese, they look Asian. But the people that look white, the people that had darker skin, those people ended up just getting taken pictures of, like selfies with random strangers, probably because they've never seen, these kinds of people before. Even I got hit by that. Some person just walked up to me, wanted to take a selfie, and then walked away. In the same way, it reminds me of this, where it's like, oh, haha, oh, whoa, like, that those actually are like animal ears. Like that's crazy. And it's like, what? You really haven't seen that before, which makes me think that Faunus aren't common. Either Faunus aren't common, or it's more of a class thing. Where if Faunus had to fight for civil rights for a while, they're probably not like you won't see Faunus in some of the higher classes. They'd be more in the lower end, and so maybe places where Cardin is from is higher end, and he hasn't had to have interacted with Faunus before. So really interesting that you can sort of infer where Cardin is from and the status of Faunus people just from this part alone. That's pretty cool. And yeah, so this one is from the class scene. Some of them think as more animal than human because in the class, Cardin mentioned an offhand comment of like, it's easier to train an animal than a human or something along those lines, which is an overtly racist comment. It dehumanizes the Faunus as animal. So yeah, animals should also still exist. So I wonder where Faunus even came from to begin with. Are we gonna do it the whole, okay, some people got it to get, got it on with with an animal, or if it's more magic than that, we don't know yet. If we ever do find that out, I don't know. But yeah, that means that people still think of them as less than human because they have animal traits, even though, by the way, they look exactly like a human does, just with different ears. Legit, just they look 100% like a human. But oh look, this girl just has bunny ears. She still has normal human ears, by the way. They have 4 fucking ears. I think I'm pretty sure if I didn't see that wrong. They have human ears and the Faunus ears. And Cardin still says like, oh, they're more animal than human. Hello? Do your eyes deceive you? It's like if that girl were to somehow wear like a, I don't know, a sash or a veil, or maybe even wear fake bunny ears or something, it's like no one would know. Literally, no one would know she's supposed to be a rabbit girl. So it's like the level of racism that Cardin has is really fascinating to think about, and we can kind of see this we can see the consequences of this from here. Apparently, yeah, Faunus Rights Revolution, or colloquially known as the Faunus War, apparently. We know about this. We could have inferred this, but we knew that because we knew about the White Fang from before, which is some sort of disruptive organization, right? Probably a protest. Sorry? White Fangs? Disrupt the protest. Oh, okay. Wait, that's interesting. Wait, I haven't taken a look at this in a while from that one news segment on the ship in the earlier episodes. They want to disrupt the protest. Okay, but anyway, we'll put a pin on this for now. But we know that there's tension and violence among Faunus and humans, or at least it was implied, and now it's sort of confirmed. But before the revolution, humankind were adamant on centralizing all the Faunus at Menagerie. I hope I spelled that right. But I do think it's this spelling, because Menagerie, the word, means a collection of animals, or some of the usually exotic animals put for display exhibition. And you can kind of use Menagerie as a word to describe like a collection of things that are, a menagerie of things, right? A bunch of knickknacks. So I think there's a location called Menagerie where people wanted to put all the Faunus into, which is like, whoa, that's all kinds of fucked up, by the way. That's like, hey, let's deport every minority into like one continent. It's like, hello? What the fuck? So that's interesting piece of lore there. Yeah, ignorance breeds violence, is what Oobleck said, and then he followed up with, look what happened to the White Fang. So that's interesting. I really want to know more about the White Fang. It's such an interesting thing because it seems like the White Fang is a group of once peaceful protesters for Faunus, turned violent. Like they're kind of like a violent Mm. How should I say? They're also racist, basically. You know how like there are minority groups in real life that are racist? I know this probably sounds like a no-brainer to a lot of people, but there are some people out there who genuinely believe that minorities fundamentally cannot be racist because they are a minority, but that's not how that works. Racism just means having a prejudice against someone for being of a certain race. You know, and in our real life, you could say like there could be no, there are minority groups like, let's for example say the okay, what's something that I can use? I guess something that's popular in media and whatnot is African Americans, right? So normally you'd say, okay, well, there are white people in America who don't like African Americans for being African Americans, so they're racist. White people that are racist, but and then there's a difference between those black people who hate those racist white people for being racist, and then it's different from those black people that hate those racist white people for being white, not racist. Or that they start automatically assuming someone is racist because they're white. Things like that really differentiates themselves between each other. So in this case, they're probably Faunus who start becoming super like fuck all humans kind of thing. You know, you guys like they start generalizing like, oh yeah, of course not not all humans, yes, but also a lot of humans are racist towards the Faunus, so they just kind of assume, or they start to be actively violent towards those people. But like, oh, if you're a human, don't talk to me, or I'm gonna punch you or something. You know, like I don't know. I'm going off on a whole thing here, but it's just so interesting to think about. I really want to see this sometime in the show. I hope maybe you get to see it this season, but I don't know. It's so interesting. I want to know more about the White Fang. Yeah, and then there was a mention about the turning point of the third year in the war, widely theorized to be the Battle at Fort Castle. This part is important to me. I don't know if this is even relevant, but this part is cool because it's third year in the war. A war that lasts for at least 3 years is a long time. Like, we're talking war. Like, war. The Faunus War. It was a rights revolution, but we also call it a war, which means this was a fucking bloody rights revolution. This wasn't a walk in the park kind of revolution. This was a hard fought and won thing. I mean, we're also talking about people that wanted to deport all of the Faunus to a different location. Like, that's the level of racism we're talking about. It's bad. It's that bad. Like, in real life, we have slavery. In this case, it's no, let's just like deport everyone. Like, globally. That's fucking nuts. And then the fact that, yeah, even our own real life history of revolutions for rights, for oppressed groups of people are brutal, but this is a straight up like the way they're talking about it, this whole thing. Look, we're talking about generals and ambushing people in their sleep and armies. That you know what I mean? You can't just say that about a world and dismiss it. This shit is crazy. I want to know more about this. Okay, General Legume, don't know how to spell it, was inexperienced apparently, and he had a blunder because he tried to ambush the Faunus in their sleep, but it's a blunder because many of them have natural night vision. So that's a cool factoid, right? Many Faunus have near perfect vision in the dark, according to Pira. That's cool. This is probably going to become relevant because this is what all Faunus have. Once we start having Faunus characters, I think since all the non-relevant characters tend to be not modeled in, I almost said the game. I'm too game dev pilled right now. In the volume, a lot of the characters are like shadow people, right? And the fact that Faunus girl has a model, I feel like maybe we'll get to know her, and that's interesting. And maybe she'll be our first like Faunus character in the cat. I don't know. It'll be cool. But yeah, this is a stupid blunder because are you telling me you're trying to fight the Faunus in the dark? Like, I get you're trying to do it when they're sleeping, but also when they wake up, your vision is going to be obscured. Theirs isn't. So that's fascinating. I know this is probably some random trivia thrown in, but I'm just curious about this. I want to know what happened. What was the battle like? How did they try and ambush them? What was the plan even? Were they trying to kill them? I don't know. Call it the world building nerd in me. I just want to know some stupid details like this. But yeah, so moving on from that, I spent too much time on that. I am so sorry, guys. I hope this isn't boring for you. Yes, so they mentioned a Beowulf. I'm assuming that's also a Grimm. Probably a wolf type. Oh no, I remember Nora mentioned a different kind as well, but I don't remember. I just remembered that just now. So I don't know. Well, whatever. It's just a fun thing here. Okay, so the main plot stuff of the episode, not even characters yet. I'm sorry, I'm taking so much time. What's there a comma here? There we go. Yeah, so we have combat class. That's pretty cool. That makes sense. It's a combat school after all. Glinda mentioned tournament style matches, and it seems like it ends when it's first a red aura. First of all, I wanna know how they even measure someone's aura. Like, is it that different people have different amounts of aura? Does everyone have the same average aura, like amount of it? Is there some sort of device that scans them for the aura? Hell, I mean, referring to the scroll during combat, it's like, hello, like maybe the scroll is like a Apple Watch thing where it can detect how much aura you have or something. I don't know. But so that's how tournament style matches are done, and apparently there's an inter-kingdom festival that has a tournament, so that's why they brought this up. We'll get our tournament arc, I hope. This is a school anime. This is a magic school anime. We have to get a tournament arc. This is very like strange to me. Okay. Am I going crazy, or is this really ridiculous to me? Is this just how people fight? Like in the world, when you're fighting, you just pull out your phone and you look at your health bar so that you know when to, like as Glinda said, like you know when to be on the offensive or when to be on the defensive. You look at your fucking phone when you're in a battle. I feel like that system is really flawed, but if people actually do this, that would be an interesting way to do fights in the future. But we never see this in the trailers, but probably because... Is this a school-only thing? When you graduate, do you not use this anymore because you kind of can tell? But that's really good technology, though. I think you should be able to just see how much aura you have at a glance. I don't know. Again, it would be really cool if I could see into the future. But for now, this is what we have. I don't know. It's... Huh. This is the potential to be really stupid or really genius. I don't know yet. And then we have rocket-propelled locker for weapons and armor. First of all, what the fuck? Second of all, why? Why do we need a locker that can move places unless it's necessary to re-equip yourself and put your stuff away from a distance? But you have to set the coordinates though from the locker itself. Like you have to send the locker somewhere with a 6-digit code, as Glinda said. Yeah, it was Glinda. It's a 6-digit code to send it somewhere. But is there a way to remote control it back? Like if you're not at the locker and you want to find your locker, is there a Find My Locker? Like you have a Find My Phone? Or let's say you sent it to a location and you want to bring it back, do you have to physically go to that location to get it back, to send the coordinates back to the school? Or does it automatically come back? Like, you can't just say rocket-propelled locker and not follow up on it. You know what I mean? Like, I hope we get to know more about this because this is insane. Okay, so that being said, we can finally talk about the characters. No Ruby. Weiss is Weiss is fun because she was the one that answered some of the questions, which checks out. She's a smart student. Yeah, here we go. Oh yeah, funnily enough, Blake is also one of the characters. Like Ruby didn't even get anything we got some of her in the cafeteria, but that's it. I'm talking about in class. Blake is kind of a studious type as well because she knows a lot, as well as Pyrrha, as well as Weiss. So we've established that Blake, Pyrrha, and Weiss are well read. So that's cool. Yeah. Here we go. Pyrrha and Jaune. Pyrrha is kind enough to extend a hand to Jaune to help train him, which is really cool. And she also feels empathy strongly because we see this multiple times. So, yes, with Jaune, she's kind enough to extend her hand. And also, we see this because she sees Cardin bullying other people and Jaune is like, that sucks. Like, and then we see her get mad at Cardin in the cafeteria scene when she sees, the girl getting bullied. Although she doesn't do anything about it, I feel like characterization wise, it would have been cooler if Pyrrha walked up to him and stopped the bullying. Because I feel like that's the kind of character she is, but again, I guess not. Because nobody does it. They see Cardin bully Jaune in front of them, and Pyrrha helps Jaune up, says nothing to Cardin at all, or didn't confront him at all. And it seems like everyone else sort of knows this, but like they know that Cardin's a problem. I don't know if they've reported it to the teachers. Hell, the teachers know about it. Cardin's openly said something extremely racist in class, but Oobleck didn't even mention that. At the end, he just lectured them about their class behavior, but nothing about Cardin calling a whole class of people animals. Like everyone is just they have complicit behavior. They're like, everyone is, not to say ignorant, that's not the right word. They're complacent. Yes, that's the word. Complacent in the bullying. This goes for real life too. Like if you see someone get bullied over and over and over again and you don't report it to anyone, you don't do anything, you just try to help the bullying victim, but you don't confront the bully, you don't tell the teacher, and even if the teacher sees it, they're like, whatever. That's like, systemically, that is awful. Beacon has awful regulations about what kind of behavior can be in here. How did this asshat manage to be, in here in the first place? And he's the leader of his team, right? If I'm not wrong, from that, when the end of the episode of Players in Pieces, he was the one that was the leader of his group, right? If I'm not mistaken. How did that happen? I feel like everyone's just complacent, and they passively take part in this kind of behavior. They're not stopping it. What happens when he graduates? Is he just gonna be a bigger racist now with more power? What, they just let this happen, that's awful. So yeah, sorry, I just went on a tangent there, but but yeah, I have certain moral principles, so I may get on a soapbox from time to time. So yes, that's just what I do. Okay, talking about Jaune. Yeah, here we go. Didn't go to combat school. First of all, as we established, this is sort of like university, not high school. So he didn't even go to the earlier ones. or pass any tests because he has fake transcripts. So he didn't even make his way into Beacon, which kind of checks out actually. His sword, he didn't make a sword, but Ruby was like, well, everyone makes their weapons. And he's like, oh, mine's a hand-me-down. No wonder, because if he was going to the other combat schools, he would have had to make his weapon, but he doesn't have that. So that's a clue already. That's pretty cool. And also this great-great-grandfather who fought in the war makes sense. His family are a long line of heroes, and he wants to be a hero too, but he was never able to be strong enough. All of this kind of checks out. That's kind of cool, actually. Yeah, so actually, combat school and not just school implies that there's more than just combat school, which makes sense. If you don't want to be you don't want to be a hunter or a huntress, like, you can be something else, choose a different profession. You don't have to go to combat school. You can just go to a different kind of school. That's cool. Yeah, so John's whole thing is basically he feels like there's expectations weighing onto him. Everyone else is like this, and he wants to live up to that. He wants to be a hero just like everyone else in his family. And that's all he ever wanted. That's what he wants to achieve in life. It's not like it was forced onto him. Well, it kind of was forced onto him by proxy of him being born in a family of heroes. But he actually does want to be a hero. So the problem here comes where he's just never skilled enough to do it. It wasn't elaborated, but he made it sound like, yeah, he just wasn't strong enough. He couldn't pass any test or anything like that. He didn't even go to combat school, which means that I don't know if he even qualified then. He probably didn't even qualify to enter those combat schools. I feel like if he wanted to be a hero, he would have applied to those schools, right? It's not like he chose a different profession and then suddenly swapped out when he wanted to choose a college course. I feel like he would have been rejected by the combat schools in the past because he was so bad at it, you know? And so he finally had enough, and he got some fake transcripts to come to Beacon. But obviously, when you enter this level of education without having worked to get here, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb for being completely out of your league, you know? So that kind of puts in hindsight into why he's such a bumbling idiot type of character, where he's like, you can't fight. He really can't fight, but he kind of has tactics in his head, you know? And that's probably where he's going to make up for it. But we're also going to see his arc, his Jaune arc, where he overcomes this and learns how to fight more. He's probably still going to be comparatively weaker than everyone else, but he's not going to be dead weight, basically. I think that's how we're going to end the next episode, or however long this arc is going to be. For the love of God, I hope it's only until next episode. We're going to get to a point where he is competent enough on his own. And the problem is he doesn't have a spine. He can't stand up to Cardin because he can't physically beat him. And because Cardin tends to bully people through physical means, he essentially uses his power, his strength, to take advantage of that, to manipulate other people. And here we see him threaten John with blackmail, and the way that he grabs John's head and all that, it's like exerting dominance basically. And the only reason why he's so cocky about it is probably because no one's challenged him about it. They'll probably just get kicked, or punched. So against a bully who is physically stronger than you, you want to keep yourself safe. Obviously, you don't want to say anything that will trigger them to assault you. But there's still ways to sort of fuck them over, But the key thing is you don't do what they say. Generally, you need to seek help from other people. If not the teachers, then your friends. Dude, Pyrrha is strong as shit, right? She's supposedly, multi-time winner of tournaments. She knows how to fight. But the problem here is that he wants to do things on his own to prove himself. He has a complex about it. He doesn't want other people's help because he feels like because he was already feeling bad about not being good enough. If he faked his way here, gets bullied, and then still needs help from other people to overcome this problem, he'll feel worse. He'll feel like, man, I really am shit at this. So now he feels like, no, I have to prove myself. I have to overcome Cardin by myself so that I can take a step towards being a hero. But again, it's like, can you? If you really don't want to accept help, what is your plan? You know, Cardin has blackmail information now. Do you risk getting expelled in order to fuck Cardin over? Hard to say, you know, but it gets complicated because he doesn't want help from friends or teachers. That severely limits what he can do in this situation. He needs to drop that ego and accept that having friends isn't a weakness. Relying on friends is actually a strength. You know? It's not like you rely on your friends all the time, right? It's just for this situation, you need help. And for other situations, he can be left alone. Like, hey, you can do this yourself, you're fine. But for this specific situation, hey, it's okay to have help. But obviously he's stubborn about it, you know? So I don't know where his arc is going to go from here, but obviously the ending should be a positive one. I'm just curious about how we'll get there. Obviously, Pyrrha let him, like, she's like, you know, if that's what you want, then I suppose I'm not going to overstep my boundaries, right? I really want to help you. I feel bad seeing you like this, but yeah, like, I feel bad seeing you get bullied, and I hate that guy. But if you say that you don't want me to help you, then, you know, then I will respect that. But I feel like she should at least take action in some way. If she doesn't want to help John, or rather, if she can't help John, she can at least do something about Cardin. Because she has a perfect excuse, right? If she can't confront Cardin, it's not that she thinks John can't do it by himself. She can just say that, hey, I hate Cardin too. I just hate him on principle. This isn't about you, John. I know you have, like, your thing with him, but, like, I don't like him personally. But I don't know. Pyrrha is already set up to be non-confrontational, so unfortunately, I don't think that's gonna happen. But I know it's such a frustrating situation because it's like nobody does anything. John's too stubborn, and Cardin's a bitch. And it's like, okay, well, in this case, yeah, he kind of has the upper hand. The only way he can get out of this is if John grows a spine, Pyrrha stops being complacent, the teacher stops being complacent. But I suppose that's how systematically bullies can still exist in schools to this day. Is because of nobody wanting to do anything about it. It sucks. But yeah, I mean, I suppose this has sort of become a little bit of a PSA. Like, you know, if you're getting bullied, it's okay to rely on others for help. But, you know, sometimes people don't want to get involved in their business. I mean, nowadays, we live in such comfort and convenience that we would genuinely look away from assault and even murder if it's not in our face, if it means that we can stay living a convenient life. It's okay that animals are getting ruthlessly slaughtered because we don't see it. It's in a factory somewhere, and I'm hungry. I want to eat at this franchise of restaurant. You're not going to go out of your way to only provide such a minuscule amount of like boycott support, for example, right? It's like, oh, well, if I only matter so little, if the way the money trickles is that I'll only ever provide like a 0.001 of a dollar to this company, then I don't mind spending money on this because I care more about convenience. Or in this case, like, hey, I want to have a comfortable school life. If I get involved in this mess, maybe, you know, Cardin's team will start going after me. You know, like, and I don't want that to happen to me, but I feel bad for this person. But at the same time, I don't want to risk my convenience. I don't want to risk my safety. I will let someone else suffer instead, you know? It's a matter of what you prioritize. Are you okay with risking all of this if it means helping someone out? or if it means removing someone who is abusing, the system and just abusing their strength and dominance. So, yeah, I mean, convenience is kind of the enemy of a lot of things, actually. Hell, you could even apply it to, hey, if you want to lose weight, for example, you have to make things more convenient. Like, sorry, you have to make things more inconvenient for yourself. You want to go grab something, make sure that you always place it far away enough from you that you can't just get it from an arm's reach. You have to stand up, walk over a few steps to get it. If you're like, oh, I just want to place it here for my convenience, that might be convenient. That might save you some energy, or maybe, if you're sick or unable to walk so often, you can be excused. But if you're a perfectly healthy person or close to it, and you do that kind of stuff, it's like you might eventually create problems for yourself, because it's a slippery slope. Convenience is a bit of a slippery slope. Once you have one thing that's convenient, you kind of want a whole list of things to be convenient. But once you have something as convenient, you don't want to revert. You can tolerate something not being convenient, but if it becomes convenient, you're probably not going to tolerate it reverting back. So, I don't know. It's really fascinating. I didn't mean for this to become a bit more of a larger discussion about life. If I did, I'd probably have to start a podcast or something. But yeah, I don't know. It's just cool that art and the show is able to bring out such discussions. I think it's one of the coolest things about stories is just that it's a vehicle to be able to start a lot of these more complicated discussions about real life. Even stuff about the Faunus War and whatnot. It's like you can draw parallels to real life, and that gets a conversation going. I think that's really fascinating. I don't think those people who say that, oh, it's just fiction. Who cares? It's not that deep. It's just a cartoon, whatever. Those people are shutting out conversations like this. If you don't want to take part in conversations like this, it's fine, but you don't have to shut the people out who actually do want to have these kinds of discussions. And I know that some people engage in media like this to escape reality, but the reality is, reality affects the media that you enjoy. Life isn't some sort of dream, some sort of daydream, and you get to comfortably escape in fiction. By virtue of existing, you kind of are forced to think about the tough things. You living in a society means that you are kind of obligated to think about your society. You being a member of a system, you're kind of obligated to think about how your actions affect things within the system, outside of the system, how that affects other people and yourself. It's important. So yeah, let me just step off from this. I'm sorry, I tend to do this. I've got like a case of monologue disease, I guess. Well, in any case, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave comments down below. I feel like because I've talked at such length about this, I'll definitely be getting very interesting comments. If you want to, also leave a like or subscribe if you really want. But again, I value comments more than anything. I read every single one, and I'll do my best to reply to as many as I can. That being said, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!